Old, cheap, and still crushing games? Yep, these exist. If you're building a budget PC in 2025, don't waste your money on overpriced junk. In this video, I'll show you 8 budget GPUs, some new, some used, that are actually worth buying today and still crush at 1080p gaming. And I'll tell you my personal favorite at the end of the list. Let's jump right into it. GTX 1070. Released way back in 2016, this Pascal-era beast was once a high-end card, and in 2025, it still puts up a solid fight in 1080p gaming, especially when you grab it on the used market for around $90 to $110. With 8 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory, it can comfortably handle modern titles like Apex Legends, The Witcher 3 Next Gen, and Cyberpunk 2077 on medium settings, all above the 60 FPS mark with some tuning. Even newer esports games like Valorant or CS2 run buttery smooth. No surprise there. What makes the GTX 1070 still rock today is its high VRAM capacity, solid core performance, and the fact that it just won't die. These cards are built like tanks. Just keep in mind, while you'll still get driver updates, NVIDIA has moved on from giving Pascal any game-specific optimizations. So don't expect miracles in the latest titles. But for 1080p gaming on a tight budget, the 1070 still gets the job done, and that's impressive for a nearly decade-old card. RX 580 8GB version. You can often find the 8GB version of the RX 580 on the used market for around $70 to $90, making it one of the best bang-for-buck cards in budget gaming history. At 1080p, it holds up shockingly well. Titles like Red Dead Redemption 2, Far Cry 6, or even Cyberpunk run decently with some settings adjustments. And when it comes to esports, Fortnite, League, Valorant, it absolutely flies. Its 8GB of VRAM also gives it an edge over cards like the GTX 1650 or 1050 Ti, which often cost more and perform worse. So what's the catch? The RX 580 is a bit of a power hog. It runs hot, draws a lot of juice, and isn't the quietest card in the world. So make sure your PSU and case airflow are up to the task. Still, for under $100, it's hard to beat the value this card brings to the table in 2025. GTX 1660 Super. Launched in late 2019, it brought NVIDIA's Turing architecture, minus the ray tracing, to the mid-range market. And today, in 2025, it's still one of the best balanced 1080p GPUs you can get. You'll find it on the used market for around $100 to $130, and it delivers consistent, smooth performance in modern games, especially at high settings in 1080p. In games like Spider-Man Remastered, Hogwarts Legacy, or Call of Duty Warzone, it stays above 60 FPS with a few tweaks. And thanks to its GDDR6 memory and solid efficiency, it runs cooler and quieter than older cards like the RX 580. Plus, since it's based on Turing, you get improved encoding and better video playback support. A nice bonus for streamers or content creators. The only real downside? No DLSS or ray tracing support. But at this price point, that's not a deal breaker, because what it does well. RX 6600. This card launched with RDNA2 architecture, and even though it was considered mid-range back then, it's aged extremely well. Today, you can find it brand new for around $150, or even lower if you're lucky on the used market. And the performance? At 1080p, it absolutely crushes. Cyberpunk, Starfield, Spider-Man Remastered all run above 60 FPS at high settings. It even dips into 1440p territory for lighter titles. Thanks to RDNA 2, it's also super efficient. Low power draw, cool temps, and quiet fans. Plus, you still get full driver support from AMD, which means this card keeps getting better with time. Its only weak spot is ray tracing. While technically supported, performance takes a big hit with it enabled. But for pure rasterized gaming, it punches way above its weight. RTX 2060. If you've been eyeing ray tracing or DLSS but don't want to spend a fortune, the RTX 2060 is probably your best entry point. Launched back in early 2019, this was NVIDIA's first true mainstream RTX card. And in 2025, it still holds its own surprisingly well for around $120 to $140 on the used market. Performance-wise, it's a notch below the RX 6600 in raw rasterization, but it makes up for that with DLSS support, which can give a nice FPS boost in games like Cyberpunk, Hogwarts Legacy, and Control. It also handles basic ray tracing decently, especially if you're willing to drop settings a bit or lean on DLSS to balance the load. The main limitation here is VRAM. With only 6 GB, some newer titles may push its limits, especially at ultra textures. But for most 1080p gaming, it still delivers a smooth experience. For gamers who want to try out next-gen features without next-gen prices, the RTX 2060 is a solid middle ground. The legendary GTX 1060 6GB version. Released all the way back in 2016, this card was the king of 1080p gaming for years. And surprisingly, it's still usable in 2025 if you're gaming on a very tight budget. You can often find one for $60 to $75 on the used market. And while it's definitely showing its age, it can still run Fortnite, CS2, GTA 5, and older titles like The Witcher 3 without much trouble, especially at medium settings. The 6 GB of VRAM gives it just enough breathing room for modern titles, unlike its 3 GB variant, which is now pretty much obsolete. The downside? NVIDIA has stopped providing meaningful driver optimizations for Pascal cards, so don't expect great performance in newer releases or upcoming AAA games. It's also power-hungry compared to its performance tier. That said, for casual 1080p gaming or esports, the 1060 is still a valid option, especially if you're building a super low-cost rig or upgrading a pre-built. RX 6500 XT. This card caught a lot of heat when it launched, and honestly, some of that criticism was fair. But fast forward to 2025, and with prices now around $90 to $100 brand new, it's actually not a bad option for ultra-budget builds, especially if you know what you're getting into. Built on AMD's RDNA 2 architecture, it's extremely power-efficient and cool running. It handles 1080p esports titles like Valorant, Rocket League, and Overwatch 2 without breaking a sweat. Even games like Elden Ring or Resident Evil Village are playable with some tweaks, so why all the hate? It only has 4 GB of VRAM, a PCIe X4 interface, and lacks proper video encoding, and which hurts performance if you're using an older motherboard or planning to stream. That said, if you're pairing it with a modern platform, like a Ryzen 5 5600 plus B550 board, the RX 6500 XT can be surprisingly capable for a basic gaming rig on a budget. Last but definitely not least, the RTX 3060. Now this one's pushing the limits of budget, but hear me out. If you're patient and know where to look, you can snag a used RTX 3060 for around $170 to $190, and at that price, it's arguably the best overall value for 1080p and light 1440p gaming right now. With 12 GB of VRAM, DLSS2 support, solid ray tracing performance, and modern drivers, this card handles everything, from Cyberpunk to Alan Wake 2. Better than anything else on this list. It's also more future-proof than older RTX 20 series or Radeon cards in the same price range, and because it was so widely available during the crypto mining era, there's a ton of stock on the used market. Just make sure to buy from a trusted seller. Just be careful of worn-out mining cards and avoid listings that don't show the actual item. If you've got just a bit more budget and want something that can carry your build for the next few years, the RTX 3060 is a fantastic choice, even here in 2025. And there you have it. 8 budget GPUs that still deliver great performance in 2025. My personal favorites? The RX 6600 for brand new performance per dollar, and the GTX 1660 Super for solid used value. Which GPU are you using right now, or planning to buy? Drop your pick in the comments. Thanks for watching.